Now, after the Express, I had to read the Newsday. Ladies and gentlemen, hold on to whatever you have, you know. If you're eating popcorn, hold on to it. If you're eating a night doubles, hold it good, don't shake your hand. The channel will fall off the paper. Newsday, first and foremost, Vincent Nelson, King's Counsel, Vincent Nelson, Al-Rawi, Kewal Singh, Rowley. These people, Vincent Nelson wants the DPP to overturn his conviction. In the interest of justice, he wrote a 36-page letter on March 15, 2023. And let me tell you something, the Newsday got this. Not from the UNC, eh? I can tell you Faris Al-Rawi, a la tight pants, a la, hi guys, the UNC couldn't have gotten this letter. Somebody in the PNM trying to slow burn you, Al-Rawi, Johnny Sukaran. They're trying to get you out slowly, smoothly. They're trying to get rid of you. They move you from AG. They make you Minister Puya. They tell you could do fixed road. They take away that quietly. And now they're leaking things to the media, their media, to bust your throat. I mean, your throat deserves to be politically bust. But it's your own PNM brethren doing that. Eh? It's not Anil, you know. Anil just reading the Newsday. So, this gentleman Nelson said that the DPP had a duty to disclose the fact that he had an indemnity with Al-Rawi. Nelson, King's Counsel, Gaspard is on record as saying he didn't know nothing about that. He had nothing to do with that. He dealt with criminal matters. He didn't know and he was not alerted about any negotiation, illegal, legal or otherwise, of any negotiation with you, Al-Rawi, Kewal Singh, Rowley, whoever, that PNM business. Gaspard say he didn't know about that. So don't say he ought to have known. You ought to have known. You was discussing with liars. You were discussing with men who sell too posh, come in the parliament and lie and call a different number and don't transfer. You were discussing and you were being represented by people who don't write $600,000 check and man who don't declare in the form that is too posh that they sell for 1.2 million and playing games. You didn't know you was dealing with liars. Police, you was dealing with, police coming by Archie. You was dealing with this. You was dealing with Rowley, the email gate liar. You now realize that? Days before his decision, Gaspard told Newsday the only discussion or agreement he had with Nelson was the plea deal that was in place. The plea deal had to deal with the criminal matter only, nothing to do with no indemnity. He said he would not have been privy to any discussions which would have taken place on the criminal investigations until the criminal investigations were conducted. Asked about the purported, and the Newsday was still saying purported, indemnity all over, Al-Rawi's signature all over it. Al-Rawi cannot do that without the Prime Minister approval. All of that there in the Newsday hand, but they're still balling purported. We go show it just now. Asked about the purported indemnity, Gaspard referred Newsday to the Attorney General, saying he was not privy to any discussions. Those may relate to civil matters, since the Attorney General has no purview with criminal matters, he said. Later on in the article in the Newsday, his letter to the DPP, Nelson said, the concealing of evidence went beyond the safety of a conviction and the acceptance of a plea agreement that formed the evidential foundation. What might well have been a politically motivated prosecution. You now wake up, Nelson, like the chemotherapy had you sleeping and tired. You now wake up knowing that you were part and parcel of a political persecution by these players, including your own boy who was negotiating with a friend, Posh Man, Posh 1 and Posh 2. You now realize that that may have been political persecution. That is the PNM way. Now hear this part. It also said, even after his conviction and the discontinuance of the case against former AG Anand Ramlogan and ex-UNC Senator Gerald Ramdeen, the improper threats and inducements have continued Improper threats and inducements have continued, says this King's Council. And I ask you, and the 4,500, because actually my prayers work, did we go up a bit, up to 4,500 live now? I ask you all, who is still giving inducements and who could be threatening this man? Alleged threats. Let's continue in the news day. 10 days after the shock announcement by the DPP that Nelson claims he was threatened that if he did not give evidence at a new trial for the government would involve the UK white-collar crime agency, NCA, to prosecute him. Okay, so 10 days after Gaspard said, when this indemnity came out and so on, and realized this man is testifying because the government, Al-Rawi and Rowley and them, renege on his illegal indemnity, the indemnity that them tell he illegal. We will read it out just now. But these fellas now going to defend the lawsuit again that he bring. You know what these fellas say? What we negotiated with him was illegal. So their defense is that they are illegal liars who negotiated in bad faith an illegal document, overstepping the bounds of the Constitution with this man. So this man suing for 96 million, and their defense is, we was illegal, we acted illegally, we are criminals. That is their defense. And you know when them lost, you know who going to have to pay the 96 million? The 4,500 of you live there. 10 days after the shock announcement by the DPP. So when the shock announcement, that shocked them, not people who following, because these people are pathological. The PNM was in government. Rowley was the prime minister. He chose the attorney general. So the government is the PNM. I want all to be clear now. Because this man saying that 10 days after the shock announcement by the DPP, Nelson claims he was threatened that if he did not give evidence at a new trial of the two, meaning Ram Logan and Ramdeen, the government would involve the UK white-collar crime investigative agency, NCA, to prosecute him. Ola, come girl, stand up, stop praying, Ola. You're having to investigate. If the government is threatening a witness, threatening, look at here, not Daniel, the PNM Newsday, a PNM leaked this to the Newsday, this letter by Nelson. Government officials are threatening this man that if he don't give evidence against Ram Logan and Ramdeen in the next trial, that they will send the information about him, his nefarious activities down here with them, to the UK. Ola, you hear? Not Daniel say, wake up, Ola, say a prayer and go and investigate. Quick, girl, quick. Wow. If y'all think that was bad, it gets worse. Let me go to the Newsday now again. The 11 alleged promises made to Nelson. Now, Newsday is such a PNM paper. These are not alleged Newsday. I actually put up the indemnity agreement. This indemnity agreement has been confirmed by Faris Al-Rawi that he, right, look at it, to Vincent Nelson and all the thing, in consideration, move it up. Right? And go all, just flash it, let people see. This is the indemnity. You go up slowly, let people see it. This is the actual indemnity, signed, approved, confirmed by Faris Al-Rawi, his signature. Rowley and his government claimed, and they admitted that this, go to the next page, this indemnity was signed. Rowley was giving me example from 1972 about the state prosecuted and turning witness, signed by the Honorable Attorney General Faris Al-Rawi, signed by Vincent Nelson, who was QC then and is now King KC. Come back to me. So, Newsday is nothing alleged. It is factual, black and white, signed by this clown here, the now Minister of Puya with no road to fix, and approved by this bald-head fool on the top, that lying fool called Rowley, who you all telling people to call Prime Minister and bawling about who respect he. Fire burn you, Rowley, you disrespectful numbskull. Well, let's read. So take out the word alleged. The 11 promises made to Nelson, printed in the Newsday. All you go online and read it. Don't buy the paper, because this is the damn Newsday who have the people, these fools in government. The promises, according to Nelson, are contained in the indemnity agreement between himself and Al-Rawi on behalf of the government. The state made promises to Mr. Nelson to induce him to enter into the indemnity. The promises were relied upon by Mr. Nelson. The promises made to Mr. Nelson pursuant to the indemnity have been discharged by him, while the state has now expressly reneged on the promises that were made on its behalf. Look, the bush lawyer telling all you, this miscreant here, this senior counsel prostitute who should have been sitting down on the couch with Rowley and Boudit, this one who whatever you pay him, he will tell you I wearing a blue jersey right now with pink polka dots. This legal hoe is going to win the case. Because these idiots are so dishonest, so stupid, putting their signature on behalf of you, the people, because you all elected this bag of clowns with a corrupt EBC, and this one running down in San Fernando West to the EBC with a set of envelope and then saying it wasn't he, as if it have two fools who does wear tight clothes like that and say, hey guys, this clown is going to win. Record that. And keep it for 4 or 5 years. 100 million of your money because of these fools. Just remember the bush lawyer tell all of that. Let me continue. It is the state's defense of the 96 million civil claim by Nelson that the indemnity agreement was illegal as being against public policy to agree not to disclose Nelson's notarized statement to law enforcement bodies. The state also contends it would be illegal, contrary to public policy, and unenforceable to compensate him for any damage. Put up the indemnity, you know, Archie, put it back up there. Did you all understand? I might have read a little fast. Did you all understand what the state is saying? Do you understand that the state is Al-Rawi, Lima, Rowley, the PNM? The PNM is saying that what Al-Rawi signed, sealed, and delivered here with Vincent Nelson is illegal and against public policy. But them is the state. Right? Let me find the place. Wait, go back and let me find the part when they say that it would be illegal to agree not to disclose Nelson's notarized statement to law enforcement bodies. They have it there. Right. The notarized statement or any part thereof will not be disseminated and or released into the public domain, whether in writing or orally, agreed to by the PNM. The notarized statement will not be disseminated or released and or disclosed in a parliamentary debate, agreed and signed by the PNM. Your name and or information by which you may be identified, move that thing, Archie, as the person who provides the information contained in the notarized statement will not be disclosed to the public and or in parliament or any parliamentary whatever. PNM agreed to that. The notarized statement will be disclosed to the Director of Public Prosecution and the Anti-Corruption Investigating Bureau, but subject to the Attorney General's duty to comply with all laws and statutory enactments, will not be disclosed to any criminal investigatory and or prosecuting authority, tax enforcement authority, and or regulatory and or disciplinary authority outside the territory of Trinidad and Tobago. Come back to me. Rowley, Al-Rawi, the PNM signed that, negotiated that with this legal prostitute. Signed it on behalf of Trinidad and Tobago. The PNM is the government. The PNM is the state. The PNM makes public policy. And now, in defense of the case that this man brought against them, which is the state, they are saying that what they signed, what Al-Rawi signed on behalf of the PNM government, the cabinet of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago, was illegal. Don't laugh and choke, you know. Anil is not making up this, you know. Go online and read your Newsday, page 8. Okay? That is Al-Rawi's signature right there. They continued. This, the letter said, was heightened by what was described as the DPP's one-sided presentation to Malcolm Holdit and so on. The letter said the DPP's statement to the court gave the impression the evidence Nelson provided was because of police investigation. They go on to the whole thing because Nelson has to be a confused soul. Because Nelson obviously did not understand that the DPP is a totally independent office. And no politician, no government, no AG, no prime minister, no cabinet can tell the DPP what to do. But this fool talking to those fools, confused. Maybe they lied to him and he believed, well then he's a dunce to believe this bag of liars. So he thinking that the DPP knew all the time about what these were doing. The DPP said, no. I know nothing of that. According to the letter, the DPP would have known about the 11 promises. No. The alleged promises, no Newsday, the promises. Promise number 1, that on October 5th, 2017, former Attorney General Faris Al-Rawi informed Nelson's former attorney, Roger Posh Kewal Singh, that if Nelson gave a notarized statement against former UNC politicians Anand Ramlogan SC and Gerald Ramdeen, he, Al-Rawi, would ensure that Nelson was paid for work he did for the government. Listen very carefully, you know. The period for payment, the letter said, covered 2010 to 2013 and February to December 2018. Nelson received 11 million in outstanding legal fees from the state over a year before he agreed to serve as its main witness in legal fee kickback corruption. Nelson was paid by Al-Rawi PNM Rowley's cabinet $10.230 million between 2017 and 2018 and $768,718.50 between 2018 and 2019. He had sued the state in 2016 for fees owed. On October 6, 2017, Faris Al-Rawi was Attorney General. Justice Ricky Rahim dismissed the AG's application to strike out Nelson's lawsuit. He said the issues raised in the lawsuit needed to go to trial. The AG's office appealed Rahim's ruling, but it was subsequently withdrawn. So the PNM Attorney General office lost the case. They appealed it to fight against this one, right? He was fighting to get his money owed to him that they weren't paying. They were holding and pressurizing and not paying him. So he went to court to try and get his money. He won. They appealed. Then they withdraw the appeal. Take it out of court. Follow carefully, you know. But it was subsequently withdrawn before it was heard by the Court of Appeal. On May 2nd, 2019, Nelson, Ramlogan, and Ramdeen were slapped with 3 corruption charges. And Nelson, after this one withdrew the case, was paid his full amount of fees that he was suing for, $10.23 million, by the PNM government, approved by the bald-head Prime Minister and his cabinet. Matters extremely difficult. This is a letter, in the letter continued. that made it matters extremely difficult for Nelson, both financially and personally, as at this point in time, Nelson was not working and was suffering from cancer, which was deemed significant by the consulting doctor. So while they holding him and squeezing his cojones, squeezing his testicles, these fellas, this man, already weak of character, was dying of cancer and receiving treatment. He was not working and was desperate for money to pay his medical bills. He wasn't earning any money. And these fellas were pulling strings to get UNC, get indemnity, say. And he would say anything because he is saying he was desperate. Not Daniel, he writing this in his 36-page letter. Promise number 2. The second alleged promise was set out in a letter that was notarized statement would only be disclosed to the DPP and the ACIB, but not to any criminal investigatory or prosecuting body. I showed you all that on the indemnity. Promise number 3. It was alleged that Al-Rawi undertook, as part of the indemnity agreement, to recommend to the DPP that no criminal proceedings will commence against Nelson. That in itself, only a PNM under Rowley could ever think that that is a possibility, that that is something that could be legitimate, that they could actually do that, because Rowley has decimated all independent institutions and they control all. They tell the commissioner of police, who moved from 12 to, first one moved from 6 to gold medal, then now 12 to gold medal. Them just tell them who to investigate, who to give gun to, how to stop FUL, who to go after, who to run down, who to charge. But the man, the one last piece, who's standing firm, and I don't have no brief for he, because if you asked me before this, I would have said he does lean PNM on my analysis of the situations over the years. But the one last man who has some professional integrity is Roger Gaspard and the DPP, who will not be told what to do. Al-Rawi and Rowley put in a document that they, as Attorney General and the government, will talk to the DPP and tell him not to charge this one. These people are insane. But you have allowed them, Media Express, Newsday, Guardian, CNC3, TV6, 13 PNM radio stations, you have allowed these people to be insane. Promise number 4, the DPP was told that the former Attorney General recommended to him, which is Al-Rawi recommended to him, on diverse occasions in 2018, that he should not prosecute Nelson. It is inconceivable that Mr. Nelson would have executed the indemnity if he had not been given this assurance. The letter said Al-Rawi, in a sworn statement in the criminal proceedings against Ram Logan and Ramdeen, that the indemnity and his notarized statement were disclosed to the DPP and its contents were known to him. Well, somebody lying. Because Nelson says that on court record, Al-Rawi signed. Now remember, Limo signed and lie up in the States. Al-Rawi signed that Gaspard knew. That is the crux of the matter. Gaspard said, me I know nothing about what these miscreants talking about. Al-Rawi said, according to Vincent Nelson's letter, that Roger Gaspard, the DPP, knew every step of the way. Gaspard said, don't talk no nonsense, I don't know nothing about that. The only time I know anything is when it's criminal proceeding, which is my job under the Constitution, my office. That's all I know. You, the people, have to decide who all you go believe. This man or this crew. This crew, this man who say Malcolm Jones, oh Lord, you go get your money. Then them come in, he said, nah man, write a paragraph, or you go believe this man. You decide, you know. Because both can be true. However, Mr. Nelson was made to believe that the only way he could obtain the sums owed to him in a timely manner so that he could access medical attention, was by providing what was demanded as pursuing the matter in High Court did not guarantee timely receipt of funds or at all. The letter said the government knew that Nelson was anxious. This is the government, Al-Rawi and Rowley. The Prime Minister and the Attorney General, the Cabinet, the PNM government this man is talking about. The letter said the government knew that Nelson was anxious not to prolong matters. Well, that must be because he's sick, cancer, thinking he dead in, can't get work, not making no revenue now, and them holding possibility of his work money that is owed to him, them holding it, so they have him by the short, the curlies, and all other else. The government was anxious to prolong matters because of his ill health and his financial position, and had no realistic option but to comply with his request. The letter maintains that these were used to coerce and or induce Mr. Nelson into making the statement, into providing a statement against UNC politicians. Persecution or prosecution? Persecution, Rowley, Kamlalai. Oh my goodness. The letter maintains that these were used to coerce and or induce Mr. Nelson into making the statement and extract information concerning Ramdean and Ramlogan. Without these assurances, promises 1 to 4, Mr. Nelson would never have provided a notarized statement or the confidential information. The indemnity agreement was executed in November 2017, and Nelson's statement was given on October 26, 2017, and notarized by John Jeffrey of Stamford, UK. And all of a sudden, it ain't done there, no? All of a sudden now, there is an all-out PNM attack on one man and one man alone, Roger Gaspard, the DPP. All-out attack on this man now. Now remember, anti-gang legislation passed by the PNM, even though they ain't charge one gang leader or anybody of it, it says that a gang consists of 3 or more people getting together to do criminal activities. Criminal activities include misbehavior in public office, inducement, bribery, perverting the course of justice. So if 3 or more of them colluded to do any such thing, some of them in the previous picture could be charged under the anti-gang legislation.